Hey guys, it's JT, Coach JT here with Inside the Dugout with the Pack. We got Coach Campbell on the call tonight and Coach Larry, along with special guest Matt Bryant. We're super excited to have him here. And he is a good friend of Larry's. So we're going to have him introduce him right now.
Hey, Pack Nation. Yes, it's Coach Martinez over here. And I have the distinct pleasure to introduce a colleague of mine that I played baseball with in college down in Colby Community College, Matt Bryant. He brings a lot of knowledge of the game from his past playing at Colby and then Arkansas State, and then had a brief stint with minors with the Phillies and the Pirates. So I reached out to my buddy Matt and asked if he wanted to join the podcast. He said, yes, heck yeah. So I have the distinct pleasure to introduce my buddy, my friend, Matt Bryant.
Larry, thank you very much. And it's great to reconnect with you. And Facebook is it was great to have that connection. So I'm very excited to come and join you. And good to reconnect with you. And then came out and saw Coach JT. What an incredible facility you guys, and the vision is something I'm very excited to watch and learn from you guys. And so an honor to be here tonight. And Campbell, it was great to meet you, and look very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so are y'all ready to just jump on it right on in?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. So first off, first and foremost, you are a parent. Do you want to just let everyone know how many kids you have or what their ages are?
Yes, thank you. Again, I grew up here. I'll give you the whole history. I grew up here, went to Gateway High School. I was very fortunate to walk on to Colby Community College as a freshman in 1994. Played 2 years at Colby Community College, went to Arkansas State, and then did play for the Pirates first and then the Phillies, and got back here when I was about 25 years old in 2001. My wife and I were married in 2003, and our first child, Kate, was born in 2005. She's currently 20 years old. She's a junior at Clemson University and on the gymnastics team. We have another daughter, Reese, who's a senior at Heritage High School. So she was born in 2008. And so, yep, I do have two daughters. And I'm not going to make a joke about the baseball curse, but as a former baseball player, I was going to have daughters.
I think
So.
we all do.
I was
You
fortunate to
know who
have two
you're talking.
beautiful daughters, and they're
Yeah, you
very
know who
they're
you're
different
talking
in their
to, right?
ways, but yes, I do have a daughter, and we'll talk about that. A junior at Clemson and a daughter, a senior in high school that is currently looking at colleges right now.
Awesome, very cool. Well, just going off of that, we just wanted to ask you what has been the most rewarding and or the most challenging part of supporting your daughter's journey as a Division One athlete at Clemson?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, that so yeah, my daughter Kate is a junior, like you said, and it was a rewarding is but beyond have we been rewarded with her journey because she always wanted to be a gymnast, very dedicated to the sport. To be honest, she wasn't really that good at the early levels, freshman, sophomore in high school. In fact, she was told as a junior, just it's not going to happen. She's not going to get a college scholarship. Uh, she put in the time, the energy, and the dedication to prove them wrong. So we're beyond ecstatic for what she's been able to achieve. So the rewarding part was just to see her energy, her dedication, her that the sacrifices she made. 5 a.m. at the gym with is one I always think of. Is she was up every morning because she needed to be a college gymnast, and she earned the right. So between her junior and senior year, she was noticed in the camp, and that was a great experience for us to get the recruiting side down. The trips were incredible. Clemson won, and she did receive a scholarship to Clemson. And but I'd also say the challenging side, something we didn't quite understand, is we kind of thought the competition that she had earned through her high school career was over, and we were learning that it's really ramped up quite a bit. So it's definitely not over by any means. Getting the scholarship was just the start. The competition that she's experiencing now is definitely ramped up. And I'm not talking about just in the meets schedule that she has and the other schools that she's competing against. It's great to watch her on ESPN, Stanford, Cal, North Carolina. It's great to watch that. However, she always has to work harder to get better because there's always the next person up, and we're experiencing that. The next scholarship is coming, and
Hey
it,
Matt. Hey
college
Matt.
athletics is a business, so they're always looking to, and that's a great coaching line there. Their job is to find somebody better than Kate, and her
Exactly.
job is to not have anybody better than her.
Exactly. Hey Matt, with you and your journey with your daughter going to Clemson, how many other schools looked at her? And was there all D1 or was it JUCOs or was there D2s? How did that all work out with you guys?
Yeah, that. Thank you for the question because it was a roller coaster of a ride where again she was noticed in the camp and as a junior in gymnastics, that's the recruiting time, and a lot of her teammates were getting the phone calls and she was not. So in between her junior and senior year, that's when she noticed, and then the phone calls started. And to be honest, I think she had about five schools that wanted to take a look at him, one Division two school, and then the rest were University of Pitt, Clemson, Utah State. And so we were very naive to it, and the recruiting process was something that was a very interesting process, to say the least. It was a lot of negotiation, a lot of wow factor on the recruiting trips. That was just an incredible story I'd love to share, but we don't have the time for that. But the recruiting trips was something else. I was on a couple football fields that were pretty cool to watch, and
I
you
imagine.
know, we Clemson was by far the best. Dabo Sweeney came over and gave us a little speech that was I still remember, and it was 3 years ago. So.
That's awesome.
That's cool, man. I'd like to bring up and talk about a little bit, if you're okay with it, Coach. You talked about your daughter being told that she wasn't going to make it. And this happens to athletes, whether you're gymnasts or dancers or whatever it is. And some athletes will actually stop because of that. And other athletes actually use that as fuel to fuel their dream. What what did you notice? Why do you think your daughter chose to go that route instead of putting her shoulders down and sitting down and saying, "Okay, I guess I won't do gymnastics in college"? Instead, she was like, "No, you can't tell me what I can and can't do."
Yeah, and thank you. That was a great question because I I hope her parents, us, had a big role in that because from an early age, she was told that it's not where you start, it's where you finish, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. So if you put in time and the effort and the work, you have to trust the process. We were big about trusting the process. So I think for her, she had put in so much work, and then to be told it wasn't going to happen, she didn't accept that, and she just knew, and she was a late bloomer. So I think for her, it was she understood it was a marathon, not a sprint, and she wasn't going to accept. She'd worked too hard and come too far to just be told that it, and it was one person's opinion. So she didn't like it, and in fact, there's a great little story to it. That person who I hold in high regard, they did tell us we needed to kind of decide by the end of the month on which gym we were going to go to. That's a gymnastics thing with the clubs. And my daughter, when she heard that he didn't think she could get a college scholarship, she wrote him a letter that night, pretty much saying, "I don't want a coach that doesn't believe in me." So, and that will be her last day with that coach.
Good job. Good for her.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
she's tough.
I love it, and that is a testament to you, Matt, and your wife, because a lot of times these kids don't have that support, and when they're told something like that from a person in a position of trust, like a coach at a facility or in an organization, it can really ruin their dreams. Ruin their their future, or maybe not ruin it so much as change it dramatically, right? Depending on how they handle that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think sometimes myself as a coach and going back 25 years, there were times where you kind of think maybe this kid doesn't have it and everything like that. But it's always great, and we're still in good friends with the coach that probably trying to set expectations. I don't begrudge him one bit, but set expectations for her. I think he'd be the first one to be glad that she achieved and earned a college scholarship, um, because that pushed her a little bit. That fueled the fire. She was ready to work harder.
Good.
Yeah, and I love that because maybe at that moment when he said that she wasn't um capable
Exactly.
or not capable, but she wasn't quite at that level, and it was that interaction that she needed to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to do this despite what you think."
I see so many of these new coaches and coaches that coach at a different high school level, whatever, especially the freshman, sophomore level, give up on kids that you haven't seen them grow yet. You don't know how they're going to develop. And we will have one on this podcast within a couple of weeks, Lincoln Vicker. He was cut his sophomore year from the school he played at his senior year. And now the kid's at Ohio State playing is pitching for Ohio State at a D1 school. So you don't know how the kid's going to grow in that body and how he's going to adapt. And like you said, that fire is in his heart, man, and it's a hard thing to get rid of, is that fire and that burn. And I'm gonna prove you wrong, and he did. And I'm proud of him every single day. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's something young kids need to hear more of. Is sometimes you don't have control over what people thinks of you as maybe somebody being cut. I mean, Michael Jordan was obviously cut from his high school, and whether that's the right call or the at the right time. But as a kid, you don't have control over the moves being made, and all you have control over is how what you're willing to do. And so sticking to the plan is a big thing we say a lot of in our house. Is you don't have control. All you have control of is how the effort you put in.
And that's everything. JT, look at us. How many times we've been saying you can't do this, it ain't gonna work. No, 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 no. And look where we're at right now. I mean, our fire's burning every single day, and we're proving everybody wrong every single day. So it's even in business life, it's the same thing. It's with life altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it all the time. I mean, I coached manifestation and a bunch of other things for years, and it's exactly the same. I mean, I used everything I learned from the best coaches in my life to translate that into business, and it is exactly that. And a lot of times, and I see this a lot. So I run the softball portion of our academy, and I see this a lot in girls where they live and die by the opinions of others. And those who make it actually free themselves from the good opinions of others, right? Because it's just that. It's that one person's opinion. And I think you even said that, Matt. That one opinion is all it is. And if you can get through to that young athlete and say, hey, somebody looked at you today and said you can't do that, a year from now or 2 years from now. And it's your decision if you believe that and you want to just sit on the sideline, or if you say, no, screw you, I got this. That's entirely your decision.
And I think sometimes as parents, I need to hear that because it doesn't just stop with kids. I think us as adults in the business world, we've we've kind of listened to opinions of others and maybe taken it a little bit more personally than we should have. But we got to remember it's only one person's opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This might be a good segue into one of those other questions, Campbell. How are you feeling?
Yeah, actually, this is a great segue. So you've talked about how you're a coach, and obviously we know you're a dad. So being both a coach and a father, what do you think are the key differences between what athletes need on the field versus what they need at home?
That's a good question, and that's something we talk quite a bit about. And I think on the field, athletes definitely they need structure and challenge and accountability. Um, you know, myself as a baseball coach, and I'm coaching at Regis right now. And one of the things those 15-year-olds have heard from me is uh, I, the game is for you. I'm not going to yell and scream at the game. That's for you. But at practice, I need structure, I need dedication, I need accountability, and you need to really put in the work. Okay. But then at home, I think, and this is something I needed to teach myself as my daughters grew as a parent. I think they needed rest and a little bit of perspective and a little bit of space to recharge. So that's something that we really worked hard at, and especially with Kate, with the pressure of into high school, um, I think our job was as an athlete, good athletes really want to do the best at everything, and the workout, the game. But we also had to talk a little bit about being the best at resting, being the best at getting away for a little bit. You need to have the structure of that. So that was something we really strive to do, and it's easier said than done, but we're still working on it. But that's what I think is most important.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's a great way to avoid burnout with these athletes, right? I remember when I was growing up, I played Little League and we play in the spring and summer, and then we bowl in the fall, and then we play like flag football. I don't think it was even flag football, it was like touch football back then. But we would do these other things. We were still together. It was the same group of kids that played again in the next spring, but we weren't doing baseball, and it sort of broke up that in anymore with travel ball and the competition be at such high levels and all these indoor facilities, just like we do, it becomes year round. I mean, there's no break, which is why Larry and I are so adamant about doing these team building things that are totally separate from baseball, or giving them time off over the holidays and all of those things, and making sure they're students first, but they're also holding themselves accountable for a structure that allows them to be good students and good athletes. And it's that whole, I want to say work life balance because that's the key words, right? But obviously they're playing a sport, but it really is a work life balance that they need to keep from burning out in their sport.
I think that's great. And that was good to hear a coach can say that because I know in this day and age, it seems like everybody's doing so much. Um, but I do think the athletes that I'm around, give me your best during practice. Go 100%. Give me your best. And then when you're done, I just talked to a kid today, and he was asking about the how what he can do to prepare for the next level, and he gets very nervous during games, and I get that. And I said, if you can just work your hardest when you have the time, and then when the game starts and you're confident that you've done everything you can to prepare, you know, baseball is really hard. It's a game of failure. So, it might not go your way, but if you know in your heart that you did everything you could to prepare, then Derek Jeter said it best that anytime he was nervous, he knew he probably didn't prepare enough. So so I think it's really important to give it your all during the practice and the effort, and then when you're not doing that, get your mind off of it, get away, and still do your best in your studies and helping out your family. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, Larry and I always talk about this because um, you go 100%. I mean, you give everything you got and you push your limits and you grow in practice. And then a game it's literally in the name. It's a game. You just go play the game, right?
Mhm.
And if you think of it as something, if you've worked hard and you prepared, as you said, in practice, the game is it's just a game. And that's when you just kind of show off all the accomplishments that you've been working on behind the scenes for the last however long you've been working on it, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Well,
And it
In sports
becomes,
and studies, tests, how much you studied will be shown on the test, but that's the way you just show off.
where's this knowledge at when I was in school? I mean,
I
this
didn't
is
have it
so
back
good
then.
stuff, man. I mean, this is like, I mean, it's like I'm looking back at my playing career, and how I felt nervous at certain times. But then again, that day before the first day of the first game, I couldn't sleep. I was so excited, and it was fun. But was I one of the guys that put everything I had in high school? No. But I got better, and I learned from guys above me when I went to college, and the next years after that. But man, how valuable is this for any kid listening on this podcast, or a coach or a parent? What we're telling them and how to make these kids successful, not just in baseball, but in life and in past this whole sport. Because you're still a kid, you're still playing a kid's game, whatever you're doing. And like you said, you need to have fun doing it, and that's why I was fortunate enough to go to a smaller school. So we didn't have 800 kids in a school. So we had to play football. We had to play basketball or wrestle and baseball or track. So that gave us that time off from football into basketball, into baseball, and then summer baseball. So we're able to maneuver our way around certain sports. But baseball was our life, and we did that a lot. But it did give some time to heal up our arms and our legs and all that good stuff. But all the stuff right now, listen to you guys. It's great stuff, man. It's good stuff to learn.
It's good to talk like this because I do think you talk about kids, and it's good for a kid to hear about if you're nervous, maybe you didn't prepare enough. But I think adults, me included, I know a lot of meetings I'm going to, and if I'm nervous, maybe I didn't prepare as well as I could have.
Hey, coach, I'm not nervous at all.
No. He's standing behind me on the stage like a statue. You're doing great, coach. I love it. I do this thing with the girls, and for some reason, I didn't really do it with the boys when I was training because I've been playing baseball since I was 4 and coaching since 2001. And the majority of that time was boys. And then when Miley decided she was going to play softball, it was girls after that. So what I do with the girls is I tell them, okay, so you're saying you're nervous. What do you feel like when you're excited? And they start to describe what they feel like when they're excited. And I'm like, that's pretty much the same thing, isn't it? So what if that nervousness that you are labeling nerves because we're about to play a game was actually excitement and your body getting ready to prepare for what it's about to do? Just changing the wording can completely change somebody's attitude and approach because now they're like, wait a minute, well, if I think about it like that, I am pretty excited to be here. I've worked out all winter. This is a showcase. I'm excited. Yeah, I am excited because if you check, those two feelings are almost exactly the same. That nervousness, you get butterflies in your belly and all that stuff. And if you think of it as nerves, you're like, oh, and you kind of back off. But if you look at it, it's the exact same thing when you're excited and you go, oh, I got butterflies in my stomach. I'm excited. My hair's standing up. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. But if you think of it differently, all of a sudden your approach and attitude becomes completely different. And everybody on this call probably knows when your attitude and approach is different, your results are different.
I like that. That was pretty good. I like that a lot.
Well, and I think that's something that's super important for you to teach the people on your team, teach your players, because that's a skill they can use anywhere in life. Like if they're going into a presentation, if they're going into, like you were saying, going into a meeting, if you're nervous going into that meeting, you probably didn't prepare enough, So or going into something, I know a lot of my guys, they get super nervous about exams and they prepare and prepare and prepare. But then a lot of the times they'll come to me and be like, gosh, I had such a bad day today. Like I was so ready for this exam and I just froze. Like when I got to the exam, I just froze. I forgot everything. So I think that's actually something that's really valuable. And I can take that and tell my players about that and be like, hey, you know what? What if you went into this exam? I know it's an exam, so it's not the most exciting, but what if you're just excited because you have all this knowledge? What if you're just excited to get all that and show your teacher exactly what you know? And I think that's great, and I'm going to use that for sure. Go tell my players about that.
I love that.
And I like, what Coach JT talked about because, if you get an opportunity, you're taking an exam Denver University, one of the most prestigious universities in America, you get an opportunity to take an exam to show off your knowledge. Not many people can do that.
Yeah.
So,
Good job, Campbell. Good job.
take some pride in what you get to do.
Campbell, you're probably the smartest one on this call. I'm just gonna say.
And you're mad. So why not?
I
Uh,
love it. I love it.
okay. Well, just so I can kind of keep us on track on this call, I'm going to go into another question here. So as an avid baseball fan and a coach yourself, what lessons from baseball do you find carry over into gymnastics or any other sports that your family is involved with?
Oh, yeah, and I mean, baseball, I heard it when I was playing a lot. Baseball's a game of failure, and gymnastics and all sports. Uh, that's what we've really been pushing is, you get similar to the last conversation, you get an opportunity to go out and fail. Um, and I tell a lot of the kids I'm coaching right now is it's very important that you hold yourself accountable and know there's two people that are in the stands that are at every single game that are watching you. The second person and the second most important person is somebody that could have your future, and they make a phone call. It could be a scout, it could be the coach at the next level. They make a phone call, and the way I'm going back to baseball now, but the way you ran to first base on a routine ground ball or fly ball, they see that hustle that might impress them. They make a phone call that could change your life. So the second most important person in the stands is that person, and know he or she is at every single game. So you play every single game knowing that they're watching every single move you make. And then the first most important person is somebody that would do anything to be where you are, to be out on the field. Maybe that's somebody that didn't get that opportunity. So you get to go out and fail. And I know it's tough to fail, strike out in a baseball game, in gymnastics, fall off the beam. But that's something we push a lot of is sports is failure. The best athletes and best entertainers, the people you know, they've failed a lot more than the people you don't know the name. So be appreciative of the failure and know that there's somebody that's in the stands watching you that would give anything to come out and fail like you did. So,
I
So
love
good.
it. And you're so
So
right.
good.
You hit that right on the point. Did
Let
you
me
want to
go,
say
coach.
something there?
Let me go ahead. I got you, man. So
We're
good.
fired up, man. This is good stuff.
So good because I think as parents, as coaches, as we want everything good for our kids, my daughters and our players and that, but failure, you can learn so much by failing, so much by just getting that strikeout, and you can go back to the dugout and find out what you did wrong and or where were your hands at, or were you leaning too much, or were you too far back on your back half, whatever you can be. You have that video or that picture, and you can see and you can correct it. Sitting with school, if you failed a math test, you go back, check what you did wrong, boom, 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 do the test again. Now you're passing. I mean, you need to have failure in life to get better, to grow. And and when you said that, it's so true, man. Because I fail every day. I mean, you fail every day on certain things. And you turn back and look back at what you did wrong, what you could do better, and you won't do it again. I promise you won't do it again. So by saying that, it's huge. I love that because life is failure. I don't think everybody should get a ribbon. You have to watch that person hold that trophy up and say, I want to be there next year. I want to be that guy, that team, or that person holding that trophy up. And that is so huge. So it puts that drive and that fire in your heart. Like I said, I've been at the mountaintop getting that indoor facility in Pueblo, right here. And when it gets right here and all of a sudden it's gone, it's like, wow, what do you do now? Get up, dust off, say I'm gonna do it again, and you find a way to do it. And we're doing it, and we've both been there, Coach. We've both been at that mountaintop, and we just can't get that last step. Well, we're almost there, and it's because we have the fire and the drive, and we've seen that failure, and it ain't gonna happen. So, good stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, coach, because what part of life isn't failure, right? Think about when you're learning to walk as a kid, you learn to walk by failing. You learn to read by failing. You learn to talk by failing. You learn to run by failing. You learn to ride a bike by failing. 1 in 5 businesses fails in the first 5 years. You learn it and grow in life by failing. If you're playing Scrabble, one person is the winner. Everybody else failed, right? If you're playing Sorry, if you're playing Uno, if you're playing Speed, one person is the winner. Everybody else failed. I don't understand why people are so afraid to fail. You do it all the time. You do
Not
it all
first,
the
last,
time.
Bobby.
Yeah, that's a, and I love that's the quote that the people's names they failed more than the people's names you don't.
Yep.
Absolutely. 100%.
Amen. Amen.
100%.
Good question, Campbell. Good question.
Yeah. You're getting us all fired up here.
And it's deep.
I love to see it. I love to hear it, and I love just getting all of this information because as a newer coach myself, this is so valuable, and I'm so excited. This is amazing. Um,
Can I interrupt you? I'm sorry. I don't normally do that, Campbell, but I need to bring up this story about Miley. Okay. So, and it's in line with failing, right? So, my middle daughter, Campbell's little sister, Miley, is playing at Ellsworth Community College in Iowa right now and getting ready to go to the D1 level next year. And her biggest thing, she has a real problem with failure, right? If she strikes out once, even if she gets 3 hits and she strikes out once, that's the only thing she remembers. And she gets upset and takes failure really hard. And so when I was training her when she was home over the summer, I kept telling her every time she missed the ball or made a bad throw or popped up when we were hitting, I was like, good. I would just say good, good, good. Everything she did. And she got so frustrated with me. Finally she asked, like, why are you saying good? Well, you're getting better. Every time you fail, you're learning something. It's the failure that teaches you way more than the success, right? When I hit a home run, if you ask somebody, when you hit a home run, what did you do exactly? Um, well, I don't know. I just hit the ball over the fence, right? But if you swing and miss on an outside low curveball, you say I swung at the wrong pitch. I recognize it was on the lower half of the zone, and I still swung at it, knowing it was going to fall out of the zone. I learned something, right? But when I hit the home run, I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even feel it. I just made good contact. I don't know. I just hit a home run.
Yep.
I think that's a super powerful for these athletes. I'm like, and I tell the girls all the time, I'm like, why are you so afraid of failing? You do it all the time. You do it all the freaking time. You know? You tie your shoe, and the goal when you tie your shoe in the morning is for your shoe to stay tied. How many times during the day do you retie that shoe?
I had Velcro, coach. I had Velcro.
Of course you did. You were so afraid of failure. You're like, nope, we're doing the Velcro. No failure here.
I did.
That's funny.
that's awesome.
All right, sorry, Campbell. I felt like that was appropriate to share that right there.
No worries. That was perfect. I think that's a great story, and I didn't know that about Miley. That's awesome. Um, okay, so kind of so we can keep things chugging. Um, I hear that you are a financial literacy coach and that you teach financial literacy through real estate. Do you want to just explain to everybody what you do or how you teach athletes about financial literacy?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do. And so back to kind of my story when I was done with the Phillies and came back here with really very little direction. I was very fortunate to meet a number of mentors, and one owned a couple of shopping centers, and I did turn one of the storage rooms of the shopping center over on Arapahoe and Holly into a hitting facility. And as a 25-year-old with not quite sure, it was great to give private instruction to some, 10-year-old to 16-year-olds. But the best thing for me was the education I learned from their parents. So got into real estate. I learned a lot more from them than I taught them in the early years. We did start buying investment properties. So Campbell, it's exciting that you're over at DU, because the first property I owned was right across the street from DU, a little condo we bought for $143,000 in 2001 and lived there for a little time, but then I kept it for a rental property for 16 years. And then as we grew, we bought more rental properties, and I did uh, advise a number of parents to buy rental properties for their children, with the goal to build equity. So we did build a lot of equity. We bought a lot of properties. Uh, and when those children were ready to go to college, I actually went with them to a couple of the colleges, Wyoming. I'm a very big fan of investing in real estate in college towns because, again, I took a lot of their teachings to heart, and had two little girls at home, two little toddlers running around. So I did have the start with the first rental property. So I wanted to teach my children this. So as my girls grew in 2012 to 2016, we bought a number of properties, and two of the properties we bought were allocated for my daughters. So when my daughters were 5 and 10 years old, we told them that you own a property that when you go to college, we will use the equity in that property and we will buy you a property in the town you go to college. It was always the plan. It just happened to be Clemson, South Carolina. And so when my daughter was a freshman, I started implementing the plan and I learned a lot. I learned the pros, and there's some mistakes I made that I would do differently. However, what I think was the best part of it was that I was an advisor to my daughter. So she's owned a home for close to 2 years now in South Carolina, a three-bedroom home that she rents out to two roommates. Then another thing I would say is having an athletic background is important if you're looking to invest in real estate in college towns because you do look for athletes as tenants. I've been fortunate, a lot of our properties around DU, I've rented to a lot of the hockey players, the hockey team, because when one teammate moves on, another teammate moves in. So it's not a 1 or 2 year rental, it's a 5 to 10 year rental. You stay in hockey, volleyball, DU gymnastics, and the swim team are a lot of, and maybe you and I are going to talk after this, maybe the baseball team knows about some of the properties we own over there. So trying to stick with the athletes. I love renting to athletes. But now back to what I'm advising my daughter and advising some parents. I do have a playbook I've put together. If anybody would like to talk to about it, please contact me. But I do have a playbook that I've learned. But it's what I think is the most important thing for financial literacy for my 20-year-old daughter was similar to the opportunities we gave them. But both daughters will own properties. They gave them when they were little with the coaching that we got them, the playing field that we let them practice on in gymnastics and also baseball and softball. Now I've given her a house, but it's not a gift. It's given her more of a playing field, practice field where she can practice financial literacy. And yeah, she knows not to call me for any money. That's the most important thing is she does have a house. She does need to collect rent. That does go into a checking account that is for her future to pay all the bills. And I think she's learning, kind of like baseball and softball. You learn by doing. So she's learning how to be an adult. And we're hoping that the house will help her. She would like to go to med school. So she has been investing some of the cash from the rental property. And it's growing quite a bit. And I think she's going to have a lot of pride that because of her plan, and she's following the plan, she will be able to pay for med school for herself.
Wow,
Awesome.
that's incredible.
That's pretty cool. And you can imagine, so along those lines, it's great that you get the parents involved, Matt, because now they're basically the guide, kind of like Campbell says, the bumpers at the bowling alley, they keep you on the lane. So you're the one bowling, but those bumpers make sure that you're safe. And that really what that becomes. You're sort of there in the background, watching and guiding, but still allowing them to walk on their own and to learn that. And that's a lesson that she'll have for life. If she ever needs money or anything, she knows that there's all kinds of ways, different ways to create it. And real estate is a great way to do that. And why not have your roommates paying for your house?
Yeah, exactly.
It's always a good idea.
It was a great it was great because I had always talked about it and thought about it for 10 years. And then when she was a freshman living in the dorms and this was coming real, I learned a lot of the education process being 2,000 miles away, but I was able to really um, take a look at what was important. And I had taught her what we were looking for, proximity to the school versus, her house is 1 mile from the campus. There was houses that were cheaper that were 5 miles away. What was the right call? But then I also wanted her to do it. It kind of very similar to baseball and softball. I wasn't going out and taking the reps for her. I gave her the practice field. She had to, you know, her realtor that I did interview, um, she had to kind of be precise with him and know what she wanted. And she had to go through the growing pains. She had to learn the process of inspecting the house, closing on the house, and going back to the failure thing, she had to learn that electricity bill needs to be paid every month. So when she had been there 3 months and the electricity's off because she hadn't set it up on auto pay. Again, that was a funny conversation because that's not my problem. Good luck to you.
I
So
love
she had
it.
to figure it
Never
out.
happen again, right, Matt?
It's happened twice.
Oh no.
Nah.
Oh no.
Because yeah,
She's
that I'll get to it thing doesn't fly with me.
she's
So
on the road, man. She's
she's gonna
traveling.
learn.
Yep.
She's a busy college kid. Busy college kid.
She does have other things going on, but hey,
Yeah.
she, when she's 25 years old, she probably will know how to pay an electrical bill.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. I tell you what, I thought it was hilarious. So, um, coming out of high school, I had some issues with my mom, and I was just like, I'm not even going to go to college. I went up to Silverthorne and was a ski bum for a year. And the very first apartment I lived in, I had a maid. They came in and they cleaned and tidied up, and they did all the dishes and the laundry and everything. And I was like, man, life is good. This is good. I had a roommate. I loved him. We were skiing, snowboarding is what we did, and having a great time. And then my next apartment, I didn't have anybody cooking or cleaning. I didn't have anybody cooking at the other place for. My roommate was a good cook, but I had to buy groceries and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, you have to clean the toilet. Like where is the maid in this apartment? And that seems like such a simple thing, but it's these life lessons. The earlier you learn them, the better, right? So if you're learning them right out of high school or going into college or even before that, it sounds like you started before that with your kids. These are life lessons that are just amazing, right? I mean, the first time I took Campbell to an investment seminar, we had to persuade the guru into allowing her to participate. And she was how old were you, Campbell?
I was 12, I believe.
Yeah. So at 12 years old, she's like, no, I don't want to go with the kids over there. I want to participate. And she ended up being on stage and winning money from her presentation. And actually the guru went on stage and bought the stock that she had researched. So it was
That's awesome.
life-changing experience, right? Because now you're like, wait a minute, you could just make money by, investing it and all of this, and you invest first, and then you use the money off the investment to buy your car or whatever it is. And then Robert Kiyosaki and all the stuff that we went through with his training and all of those things. And it's like there's a mentality. It's just a change of mentality, right? Just like on the field where you're like, you know what? I want these things. Is there a way that I can create the money to pay for those things instead of just saying, Dad, can I have some money to get these things? And that becomes a life changing scenario. Like if I say, Dad, can I get this money to go get these things? Maybe as a dad, you want to say yes, and you do say yes a lot, and you give that. But what have you really taught them? But if they have this real estate knowledge in this case, or investing knowledge in Campbell's case, or these other things, they could say, you know what? If I put my money in here and it grows here, then I can just take the profits off of that and pay for this thing. And now technically I didn't even pay for that. That, my investment's paying for that.
Good stuff.
And I
Good
think,
stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Matt. I want to say thank you so very much for coming on our podcast tonight. I know we're getting kind of close to the hour, but I want to ask you one last question that's coming around right now through every college in the world and nation. We see it every day with athletes, and if you can quickly talk about, I guess, two things. I guess your athletes in action. Is that one you're doing? And
athlete to athlete.
yeah, athlete, yes, that. And two, NIL. How you're seeing it right now with your daughter at Clemson. Is it a real thing? Is it really happening? People get paid money to play sports. Are you kidding me? We want to know that kind of stuff because you have a daughter at the D1 level. You've seen it. So if you could do two of those things and we'll let you go with it and see what we can learn tonight.
Okay, and I appreciate that. Yeah, but Coach JT, I know there's a lot of parents on this podcast and kind of looking for things, and I think all parents are wanting what's best for their kid. And so my little financial advice for the real estate growth, I'm a big fan of investing in real estate, but I wanted my kids involved, similar like you wanted Campbell involved, learning stuff as a 12-year-old, because I think parents on this podcast really want to give an avenue and a practice field for the kids to get better and in sports, but also in life. And I think youth sports I know it's crazy, it's a lot of time and energy, but the benefits that we're seeing now in the college, and it's not the college scholarship was a bonus, and all college scholarships you got to be thinking of it as a bonus. But playing the sports, putting plans in place to be a good member of society, and that's what I do now with my kids. Is when things get tough, be an athlete. And it doesn't mean on the baseball field, be an athlete. When you don't want to go to work, be an athlete because the athletes will do that stuff. So, but Larry, thank you for the question. And there are some avenues out there, and I'm happy to share with anybody if they'd like. But athlete to athlete is a thing that you can find on the web. Facebook has quite a bit. It's something my daughter's been fortunate. She was approached, so she is a D1 coach to anybody that is interested in that sport. So if you were interested in kind of talking to a D1 player and in that sport, athlete to athlete is where I would recommend. And she does have a number of young kids, a 10-year-old. They meet Zoom monthly, or I'm sorry, weekly. They have a 45-minute Zoom call. They can talk about the stress of gymnastics. They can talk about nutrition for gymnastics, things. But I think also there's some older kids that would be very interested that may be looking at going to play at the college level. And I would highly recommend you talk to somebody that went through it just 2 or 3 years previous to you that are now at the school. So if you're interested in playing baseball at pick a school, Arizona State, I think you would try to go talk to some Arizona State D1 players and what can I do to get better? So athlete to athlete is something I would highly recommend. And then your second question about NIL, that has been a fascinating thing we've learned a lot of. Uh, I would just say the squeaky wheel gets the oil with NIL stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but also we've talked quite a bit with Kate, making sure that her role there is to be a student first, a gymnast second. We've put her in place with the house, so if she wants to go out and pursue some NIL deals, and that there is a lot of marketing and self promotion of yourself. She's able to do it, but I wanted to do it for her. She does have a couple of teammates that have gotten quite a few NIL deals, and that is real money. But I think with NIL, what we are learning is, and we said this the other day, there's some rules, but the unfortunate thing is the rules keep changing. So I think it'd be at this early stage of the NIL, it's always good to get an advisor to go in there. And so what we've learned, Clemson was great on a recruiting trip. They did let us know that they do have an advisor on staff to ask those questions about NIL because now they've even changed the rules again. Now the schools themselves can offer NIL deals. So
Hey, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's
it's something else. So I guess I'm kind of punting on that question, to be honest with you, because
Yeah, I
I
got
think
you.
the
I got
biggest advice I can have is first, I'd be a big advocate of setting, which we feel we hope we did with the investing in real estate in college towns, to get Kate comfortable on this stuff. If she wants to chase the NIL deal, she's more than welcome to. But if she would do that, the first thing I would do is uh, learn a little bit about the rules and get an advisor at the school to do the best for her.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's these sports agents now are getting licensed to do these NIL deals, and it with Pac Baseball and Softball Academy. Obviously, we're going to have somebody associated with us who's helping the girls and the boys with that information because it makes a lot of sense. If you can get that money and you're already working, being an athlete at a D1 school especially is work. Don't I don't want to tell anybody on this call that it's not because it absolutely is. And I tell you what, I work a lot. Larry works a lot, but we're having fun all day long. So the work is work, but um, if you can get paid for doing that on top of everything else that you're doing because you're doing it anyway, you might as well take that. And that might be something that helps you with additional food or travel or spring break or investment, so that when you come out, everybody's always talking about all the student loans they have. Well, it sounds like you found a way that you can maybe get around that where you don't need that. And how powerful is that for somebody, especially going into a medical career where they come out of school and they don't have all these big, huge loans. I mean, my nephew, when he came out of school, he's a doctor, doing very well. And unfortunately, he signed with a hospital in Reno and they paid off all his student loans. But he came out of school with $480,000 in debt. And he signed a deal with the hospital in Reno that said, if you stay with us for 5 years, we'll just eliminate that debt for you. And so how cool would it be if she went into that medical profession and she got one of those deals? Now, not only would she have all of her debt paid off, but also she can have, all that equity and everything and start her life. That's
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And yeah,
amazing.
and we are talking a lot of, I didn't say it, but I did want to say this. The financial aspect is great, but the learning aspect, putting the playing field of the house as the investment and what she's learning about paying bills and making sure she doesn't miss any. That's been great. But I think also I do have a story to share. She did call me about a year ago. She was just so excited. One of the football players at Clemson, and the Clemson football players, uh, they walk around. They know they're gods. So one of the football players came up to her and said, "Yeah, we've heard about you. You're the one that owns your own house." So she puffed her chest out a little bit
Yeah,
more.
nice.
I've
Put
told
her
her
shoulders back.
yeah, that's hey, that's I appreciate that's great because that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted you to have a little bit of confidence and accountability, but leads to that confidence, and then also yeah, but as your cousin that or your nephew, I'm sorry, that earned uh, the student loans being paid off. That's by their work, and I wanted her to have that confidence that she paid for her med school. I funded the house when hopefully we keep the house, do the athlete thing. Maybe gymnasts are living there for the next 20 years, and it's a good investment. But at whatever time I will get the money back, and she's on her own. And I gave her that little avenue to she has a journey in her life now she's going to follow, and I'm just there as a dad. So
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to thank you. We're about out of time, Matt, but I wanted to thank you. This has been absolutely fantastic. You never know which way it's going to go or how it's going to go, even if you prepare. But this has been perfect. I have loved every moment of it. I want to say a couple of things because this is our first pre-recorded episode. I want to say one, we're going to make sure that there's a link to athlete in the post when this comes out. And then we also, you can Google that or search that or whatever. And if you want to reach out to Matt, we're also going to put his contact information in there because obviously he's doing something that is working in his life right now. And what better person to learn from than somebody who's actually doing something? You know, it, as a coach, I know because I have been personally involved in baseball for so long playing it, I am tooting my horn a little bit, but I am a very good coach. And the results speak for that, and the fact that Matt has a daughter playing at a high level, not just at the school, but not just in the gym, but also in life. I mean, that is impressive. 20 years old, owning real estate, learning how to handle it, and all of those things. I love it. And with that, I'll just give it to you, Campbell, to wrap it up tonight.
thank you, Coach. That means a lot. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt, for coming on and for being our inaugural guest. Well, we did have some Ellsworth girls on last week, but
Oh yeah, girls.
Oh, that was so cool. That was cool last week.
it was so fun.
Yeah.
Campbell, it's great to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was lovely to meet you as well. Thank you so much. Like coaches JT and Larry said, we'll be putting your information out there for everybody. We're going to include links for athlete to athlete. And please, if you have any questions from this episode, shoot them my way, and we'll be answering them on Wednesday for our Chalk Talk Q&A. Is that what it's called?
Chalk
Right.
Talk
Yeah.
Wednesdays, Q&A. Yep.
Chalk Talk Wednesdays. So just feel free to shoot those questions my way, and I'll make sure those get answered for all of you. And thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Monday evening when you're listening to this.
And
Thank you guys very much for having me, and I really hope that anybody can feel comfortable reaching out to me anytime. But Coach Coach Larry and Coach JT, thank you guys very much, and Campbell, this was great. I really do appreciate it.
we love it. We love having you. We'll have you on again. I think you got a lot more to say. And also,
I
we'll
can't wait to see you again. And Campbell, I do want to come to your games.
Yeah, I will definitely let you know when they are.
Please do. I'm there.
Yeah. And then the other thing I'd say, Campbell, is Coach had mentioned a playbook. So we'll mention that in the post so that we can make sure that people know that they can get that from him, that playbook that he wrote.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Have a great evening. Thanks for being here.
Everybody have a great night. Thank you again.
Uh-huh.